Undermine. A new goblin capital city coming in 11.1? Now we know there's a lot of goblin lore getting fleshed out in the new book that's dropping. I wonder if they're going to go all the way as far as to give them a city. We recently saw the Worgen finally get their city back. There's been a lot of rumors about Undercity and what's going to happen with that. Blizzard's really giving cities to everybody. Cities for everybody. Are the goblins finally getting their city back? Let's see. Let's see what Doran found out.
Blizzard has been trying to add the Goblin capital since forever. Since Classic, since Cataclysm, even in BFA there was an attempt. Now, this came a bit unexpectedly as Blizzard came with a new list of short stories for the new expansion called The Voices Within. Alongside your obvious, main character Stroll, Anduin, and Illyria, they are giving a huge spotlight to Gazlo, the Goblin leader.
That's right, that's what I was just saying.
To a struggling Goblin city to bring it back to life. Now, Undermine is a massive Goblin capital below Kazan, still active today. Kazan, that is literally just a little bit north of Kazlagar.
It would make sense with all this underground tech happening and all this underground theming that this Undermine finally gets, revealed as maybe this new Goblin capital city with all this new underground tech they have.
Expansion zone that contained a ton of Azerite, aka
you just want a skin to look like Gallywix.
Guess what Kazakar is all about? The World Soul. Is this going
Fat
to be
boy goblins.
11.1 content, and what will the first ever Goblin capital look like? If you guys want to buy Total War, Elder Scrolls, or any other game, you can get them at great prices with my Gamivo link. You can also get anything Warcraft related, gift cards and software, and all below market prices. Best of all, if you add my code DORAN, you can get an even bigger discount, so make sure to check out my link in the description and get some amazing deals with Gamivo.
Be a goblin. Use code DORAN with Gamivo. Save some money.
So, I'm not sure how many people are actually aware of this, but Blizzard originally planned to not only make goblins playable in Classic, but they even went as far as having concepted the entire continent of
I've seen this before.
in the original Classic beta, and it was a really close call to having goblins and Undermine right off the bat in the actual game. This is one of the reasons the goblins are actually so developed, with multiple outposts all throughout Azeroth, all this lore, the unique goblin animations, and overall just being quite a bit more developed than your regular NPCs back in Classic. According to the Classic developer, Undermine was supposed to be like a huge, crazy tanker town, but the issue arose as the team didn't really have that many goblin assets for a whole city available, and in order to craft a unique city, they needed a lot more time, so eventually, all this content was...
Where the hell is Gallywix riding around on this thing? Is he currently doing this in the Goblin starting zone? As if you don't know right now, Gallywix is gone. He's not even leading the goblins anymore, which is why Gazlo is like the new focus in the new book, right? He basically has to take over as the goblin leader because nobody knows what's up with Gallywix. I don't know. Maybe Zaxxas knows what's up with Gallywix, but he's off and gone. So we have a new leader basically coming to the forefront here in the book that's being revealed, and then the goblins potentially unlocking their new city once again. There's some interesting goblin lore. And then the poor gnomes. They still don't even have Gnomergon. My God.
Got out. It was scrapped. Then in
That's
Cataclysm, we finally got this, and we got the play with goblins, but Undermine never really happened. But this is like the one city they have been hinting at being available pretty much since Cataclysm. And now in the War Within, it seems almost entirely likely that we will finally get the city, and we actually have quite a bit of evidence for it happening. One of the things I want you to keep in mind is how close the Isle of Kazan actually is to the new expansion zone Kazakar, and this might not seem all that evident, all that clear, as Kazan isn't really seen on the map when you open the map of Azeroth. It is only there once you click the Maelstrom. However, when you do click the Maelstrom, you can see that Kazan is all the way at the bottom, and based on the BlizzCon map where they showed us Kazlagar, it is right between Kalimdor and Pandaria. The thing is though, seeing that the entire zone is right below the island, it isn't going to be like a huge continent. It is going to be just one small island with a huge amount of content beneath. The island itself will most likely be around the size of Kazan. However, based on the maps, Kazan is only going to be a bit further north from Kazakar, and I actually think this setup is going to be genius, as Kazan is so obviously connected to Kazakar, because remember, there was a ton of Azerite there, which is a part of the World Soul, and Kazakar is like the chamber, the hot chamber of the World Soul itself. There is a reason Azerite is so abundant around Kazan. Now, one really important thing...
Look, there's one thing, a lot of people like to say, oh, Doran speculates a lot, but I'll be honest, his attachment between the lore of these two islands, it's accurate. It totally fits and makes sense. right? And the way the Azerite relates and everything, and goblins in general. I mean, mining that shit. They started that before anybody. So the connection in lore makes sense that this would become relevant again, that their island would become relevant again during this expansion.
To keep in mind is that we know 2 major patches will be coming to all the new expansions of the World Soul Saga. They have confirmed this, and guess what? Major patches almost always have a pretty big new zone. Just look at the Dragonfight. In 10.1 we got the Xenala Caverns. In 10.2 we got the Emerald Dream. We got some tiny zones like Forbidden Reach in the smaller patches, but overall big zones, which is pretty much exactly the size of Kazan, do happen in major patches. And the thing is, I mean, what are we really going to do in the War Within? I mean, discover yet another underground layer? In my opinion, the most likely thing is either a Valoran and that undiscovered human kingdom where the light guys came from, or Kazan and the goblins. There just isn't all that much other than this that is close to Kazagar. The only other possibility is potentially going to a portal, traveling to another planet like Alesh if we are doing a huge void thing in this expansion, but I think this is very likely.
I would love to go to the ethereal homeworld, even though it's completely destroyed. Maybe go back in time and see it before it was. See what ethereals looked like before their world was destroyed. That would be cool. Or even just seeing what it looks like destroyed. I mean, we've gone to destroyed worlds before. That's what the Outlands were. A shattered world floating in the sky. So, I mean, maybe we go back to their land. That'd be cool.
Midnight, not the War Within. So let's look at how Kazan and Kazagar are connected, because they're a lot more connected than people think. And let's look at the fact that Blizzard essentially confirmed that goblins are going to be a major part of the next expansion. So here's the thing. If you remember Cataclysm, you might remember the big city that you played through as a goblin. This was the Bilgewater port. The thing is, this was not Undermine. This was only a relatively small surface port, but Undermine was actually linked to this place, and it is entirely underground, like a huge, massive, gigantic complex that connects all the goblins, and we've never actually been able to see it. Then we got the Cataclysm. We know the volcano erupted, Kazan was lost, the goblins escaped.
You gotta remember too, goblins love mining. I mean, goblins are who they are because they mine nonstop. It's like their thing. It's them. They're almost the opposite of dwarves in terms of faction. But like dwarves love to mine for gold. Same with goblins. They are mining. They are who they are because they mine. They found Kazhamite, which was a, glowing stone. That's what gave them their intellect. Before that, they were kind of like a brooding, some kind of weird Azerothian life form. But it was Kazhamite, their mining, which led them to the discovery of Kazhamite, which then turned them smart. Essentially, it made them smarter. That's why they are how they are now. So, figuring out that they're relevant in a expansion that goes underground, yeah, it makes sense, of course. And their entire city being underground, that makes sense too.
That is where we are at the present day.
Good old Kazhamite.
This isn't wholly accurate. First of all, Kazan actually wasn't destroyed, only a part of it was. Even the original explanation of Deathwing and Mount Kajaro erupting is subject to debate. One of the theories, and keep in mind, this is not my speculation theory, like this is actually in the game, a thing that Blizzard put in where they're obviously hinting at something, and that is that the goblins dug a bit too deep and discovered Azerite, which obviously they wouldn't want anyone to know, but it is also pretty dangerous as they have essentially dug into Azeroth herself. Now, this makes so much sense as we're told on BlizzCon that Kazagar is a face here and it is like the heart chamber of the World Soul, and Kazan is right next door, so it is entirely possible
makes sense, yeah.
Something related to the World Soul. It might even be Ulda's, that Titan facility, and that might have triggered some type of a Titan mechanism that blew up the island and caused all this stuff. The reason we know Kazan is connected to the World Soul is because of BFA. You might remember we got a massive dungeon back in the day. It was called the Mother Lode. Goblins had discovered a ton of Azerite on the Isle of Kazan, and we actually went to this mining operation on the surface of Kazan and BFA. The entire Sword of Sargeras plus the eruption of the volcano, and especially the eruption of the volcano, is what does a volcano do? It brings things from underground to the surface. It is very likely that this brought the Azerite from their underground operations, aka Undermine. Now, Mother Lode is important for 2 big reasons. One is that it showed us that Kazan is actually still a thing and the goblins still live there, and second is that in the PTR, Mother Lode was actually called Undermine.
Jesus Christ. You scared the shit out of me, Burning Viking, you piece of shit. Oh my god, you came in with that damn blurp. What the hell? I gotta turn that shit off. Thank you, Burning. Welcome to the stream, you dick. Jesus.
Actually called Undermine. This means that all the way back from Classic to BFA, Blizzard has been trying to add Undermine to the game, but they probably realized that a city this big shouldn't just be a dungeon we visit once and forget, so they just changed it to the mining operations and left it for another day that is going to be happening very soon. Fast forward to like 3-4 days ago, we learned that we are getting 4 new short stories to set up the war within, and
interesting. Yeah, we'll have to liberate Kazan from the last stand by Gallywix. Oh man, Gallywix is up to something, man. Ooh, I don't know what is he doing. He could have freaking locked the doors to the city, and we got to break him down and figure out what the hell he's up to. But none of the goblins know where he is. At least the ones that know where he is haven't said it.
This is called the World of Warcraft, the voices within. All the major characters are involved. We're learning about Anduin and why his peace was shattered. We are getting a story with Thrall and his son. We are getting a story with Deliria and her son. And completely unexpectedly, that no one really saw coming, we are getting a story of Gazlowe. Now, check out the War Within artwork. I mean, the first 3 are obviously all over the place as the main characters, but Gazlowe is apparently being added as one of the major players of this expansion, and I think that is for a very obvious reason, as a setup for a later patch. As you may know, I mean, recently we've been getting everyone settling and getting their homes back, from the Worgen to the Night Elves to even the Hints of the Draenei getting a new city, and it is finally time for the Goblins to get their own capital back as well. Gazlowe is the main leader at the moment, and as they say, he's going to go to a struggling Goblin city in order to inspire its citizens and lead them to more worthy ambitions. Pretty big.
I mean, I guess it does make sense. If you're a new leader, and by the way, first of all, Goblins are probably hard to lead. Like, as a race, they are probably a tough race to lead because they're very, I hate to, blanket it entirely, but selfish in a way, right? A lot of them are after their own ambitions for the most part. So they're I would say they're a tough group to lead. But what better way to lead them than to basically, reignite their former city, right? Relaunch their capital. That'd be a great way to kind of call all goblins together and, bring them back to their former glories before the eruption.
I think this city could
that could play out.
Undermine. Here's the thing, Undermine itself has been super big. I mean, there have been multiple accounts that said that Undermine is still active despite the volcano eruption, but there was never really a hard confirmation. It is very likely that the place has been damaged. I mean, almost certain it has been damaged, and it is possible that this would cause it to be a struggling Goblin city, as remember, just prior to the Cataclysm, this was like their main place, a bustling Goblin metropolis that eventually got a volcano exploding all over it, which would definitely turn it into a struggling place. With the Goblins becoming a bit more normal, less exploiting, less destroying the nature.
Cine Taurus, thank you for the follow. Welcome to our Scourge.
And more fair, it is very likely that Gazlowe may be trying to do some type of a uniting act in order to bring goblins from all the various cartels and factions into one race that would serve Azoth and protect the World Soul from the giant mess that is going to be coming in the World Soul Saga. With the recent underground technology they're developing in the War Within and all these zones, this might be the first ever gigantic underground capital that is actually going to be insane in the present day standards, and actually quite a bit unique as well.
It would be cool.
Said that Undermine is a dizzying network of tunnels, vaults, lava tubes, literally the epitome of Goblin's chaotic and unpredictable mindset. They're probably going to explore the reason it is called Undermine, as remember, they weren't begging for gold here. It is entirely possible that they might have reached the World Soul, or even more interestingly, as I said, the Titan facility of Uldas, which would connect it perfectly to Khazlagar and the storyline we are going to get throughout the War Within. So we could get a brand new capital together with a whole patch of Titan-related content. Thank you for watching. Check out the top 10 strongest lore classes in the game by clicking on the screen, and check out my video on ancient Greek colonies in Spain by clicking on the screen as well. See you next time.
I actually don't see why not. This wouldn't happen. I really think this is going to happen, actually. The whole talking about Gazlowe in the book, Blizzard has never talked about with these pre-expansion books, they've never had characters in them that don't become relevant in the following expansion. So that's going to happen. Guaranteed, he is going to become relevant, and so are the goblins in some way, but revealing Undermine? Man, Undermine is too OG not to appear on the level of Zandalar and Kultiras for nobility. Yes, notability, exactly. It is one of those ancient cities, one of the few that we still haven't seen in game. So it would be very cool for them to bring it back. And like I said, bringing Gazlowe in, giving him kind of that beacon to unite all of the goblins, it does make sense that bringing their city back would do it. I'd hedge bets for 11.12. Yeah, it could happen. Most definitely. And like I said before, you know, underground expansion, we all know who the miners of World of Warcraft are. Dwarves, who happen to be very centric to that first zone we see, and of course goblins. So it'd be, I wouldn't be surprised if this ends up happening. Nice video from Doran.